So, when it comes to that, you have been posting spicier content. And I think that you've always been pretty open. Like you said, you're a chronic oversharer. But I think that you've given yourself the freedom to show that more in your content. And it's less polished than when you started. What made you comfortable with letting people see more of your actual personality?
I think I turned 30 and then I was like, I really don't give it anymore. Like the people that are going to accept me for who I am are going to do it. And the people that aren't. And it doesn't affect me. So leaning into it has been kind of liberating to some degree because it's like I'm not trying to be what everyone else says I should be. As someone who's done it both ways and tried to like fake it and didn't make it and then was authentic and it was like, oh, hi, here's followers, engagement, clients. I know that authenticity is huge.
Today's guest built the kind of business a lot of agents say they want and then found out nobody really talks about what happens after you get it. She's a solo agent in Utah County who's grown a following, pulling 75,000 to 125,000 views a month, talking about what it's actually like to live there in a very controversial way. She's currently at $5.5 million in volume to date and has seen a huge growth in her business. But today isn't really about the numbers. It's about what happens in your head and with your relationship with money once you finally become the success that you were chasing, the pressures that come with it, and why the win can feel a lot heavier than anyone warns you about. She's a mom to a toddler, a wife to a local police officer, and before real estate, she tried a little bit of everything. This is going to be a real one. Sam Foley, welcome to Above Asking.
Thanks, Alyssa. I'm excited to be here.
I am so excited. So before we get into what I think is going to be a very fun conversation, I want to kind of tee up how we know each other. So Sam is a member of Coffee and Contracts, and I first met Sam in our weekly coaching calls. She's hilarious. I love following her. We're now friends. We DM, and it's so fun watching her grow. Like, I really saw this huge transformation just in the last few months where I think you really tapped into being yourself, which is hilarious and fun. And you are so knowledgeable about real estate, but you just found this really fun way to talk about it that really feels like you, and your brand just feels so locked in right now. So I definitely want to talk about that. But before we get into it, let's start with the version of you before any of this worked. What were you doing right before things clicked, and what do you think changed for you?
Yeah, so I was actually working a full-time job last year in tech, and it was my goal to quit. I had a few big deals at the beginning of the year, so I had, some slush funds saved up, and I decided that I was going to hire a marketing agency to help me with content. So I actually spent $10,000. That was a waste of money because I got nothing from it. And then in December, I was like, I'm going all in and I'm just going to do this on my own. And so I quit my job right before Christmas and kind of locked in on just creating content myself and following like the templates and stuff, but like also adding in my own spin on things and whatnot. And I just kind of started to realize that the stuff that did well was the unfiltered version of me because I am very colorful in a non-colorful area sometimes. And so I just leaned into that. And when I leaned into it, I started getting clients from Instagram. And now I'm like, well, this obviously works. So we're just going to keep rolling with it.
So let's kind of get into a little bit more of your backstory, because I think this is what is going to connect with a lot of people, especially women, and like how your business has grown, how it's really changed like the dynamics in like your home life, all of that. So I want to get a little bit deeper than just the fun, you know, controversial content that you do. So you went solo after years on teams. You were at multiple brokerages. What made you finally make that move, and what didn't you expect about going out on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on multiple teams and multiple brokerages. Um, and then kind of like sidetracking how I like came back into it. My husband had been a police officer and then left law enforcement. Um, and he then decided to go back when I was like 36 weeks pregnant. And I was like, we're doing this again. So, but at that time, because he had left law enforcement, I had got a job in the tech industry so we could have health insurance and kind of start a family. Um, and then I had a really bad experience and almost died giving birth, and then I checked myself into like an IOP program for postpartum depression. And I realized, okay, well, we don't need insurance anymore because you're back being a cop and you're doing what you love and you are enjoying your life. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at a tech company where I want to rip my head off my shoulders because I hate it so much. But I've kept my license up and I've been doing, just small transactions for friends or family when they come up or whatever. And after I finished my therapy stint, I was like, it's time to like do something for myself. So I jumped back on a team because that's what I knew, right? I had been on teams before. And then I started doing the math and I'm like, what the hell am I paying a team for? Like, I'm giving up a huge chunk of my commission for them to what? Give me a CRM and maybe some leads. Like, that's so left the team, took my listing that I had with me, and I was like, you're not getting, like, I'll pay you $500 back for the photos, but like, other than that, like, you're not getting a referral fee on this. Like, this was my SOI that I've been working for 3 years. Went solo, and then my business just kind of started to like take off from there because I was doing things the way that I wanted to. I knew the systems that I wanted to have in place and that I didn't need to spend, you know, 50% or, somewhere between 50 and 30% per transaction to a team that's going to give me the same that I can do myself. So once I made that realization, I still switched brokerages uh, throughout that, but it was because I had found a broker that I really loved who was also a female closing, millions and millions in real estate. And then she ended up switching brokerages and I followed her. So, and that's where I still am today. And it's been the best move for my business ever.
So, with that, I want to talk about the identity shift too, because I don't think people talk about this enough. What does it feel like when you start to feel the success happen and you become the success that you used to chase?
It's probably one of the hardest things I deal with now, I think. This year alone, I've doubled what I did last year, and we still have months left to go. And as someone who's married to a police officer and bought a house while I had, a W-2 job, um, there's like pressure that exists there that like I have to get done or else the mortgage doesn't get paid, right? Um, and I think what I've realized the most, and I don't think this is gonna be how it is for everyone, but at least for me, like I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And I don't think that chasing ever stops, right? Like when we did our taxes last year, I was like, oh, like we we did good, you know? And I was like, but I don't feel any different than I did the year before. And then now I've doubled my business this year and I still don't necessarily feel like I've made it. But I know that like a year ago, Sam would be like, you did it. You know what I mean? And so I think it's just, you're always going to have like bigger aspirations and bigger goals. And the pressure gets heavier as you like start adding more income and success to your business because now your lifestyle has changed naturally and it's not necessarily a big jump, right? It's like over time, you're used to spending more and now you have to keep up with that. And giving myself grace to know that it's okay to keep chasing the next thing, but finding the balance, I think, has been hard of shutting work off. Like, I feel like I work more now than I ever have in my entire life, and my husband would agree with that. So,
So, would you say hitting these numbers has, like, changed your relationship with money?
yeah, I mean, we used to live paycheck to paycheck, right? And so it was like scrambling to, like, make sure that we were gonna make it till Friday or whatever. And now it's like if I don't have a certain number in my bank account, I'm stressed. But, like, before I was fine when I didn't have that number. And so now it's it's keeping a slush fund, but also now I'm to the point where I'm like, "Okay, we're making" and we're not rich. Like, I don't wanna say, like sound like I'm bragging or anything, but we're making too much money for me to, like, manage this on my own. Like, I need to, like, start investing that money and putting it elsewhere so it's not just sitting around and it's actually working for us rather than just, like, burning a hole in our bank account, you know? And but I'm also in that weird phase of not knowing where I feel comfortable, like, sending money elsewhere and having access to it easily, you know? And so I think, like, not to sound crazy, but, like, more money, more problems kinda thing, you know? Like, it's just there's things that you didn't think of before that you now have to start thinking about.
How has that changed, like, the dynamic in, like, your house?
So, my husband actually grew up with a mom who was, like, the breadwinner. So, to him, it's, like, totally normal, and he's like, "You go for it. You make more money, like, that just means I can go to Shields more often," or whatever, you know? Like, he's all for it. For me, it's been hard because I grew up in a very traditional household, um, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I thought all growing up, like, I'm gonna find a rich husband, he's gonna make a ton of money, I'll stay home with the kids until they go to school, and then life hit me in the face and said, "No, you won't," and I have to be the person to do it, and I think it's scary. Like, I think it's affected me more than it's affected him, and feeling like I fall short as a wife and a mom, and I, like, joke with my nanny all the time that I feel like she's raising my son and does all the fun things with him that I can't do. Um, and so, like, finding trying to find peace with that has definitely been hard.
What do you do to find peace with that and just kind of have that knowing that I'm on the right path, I'm doing what I need to do? What is that for you? Like, what does that look like?
If I knew, I would tell you. I really don't. Like, I'm still in the depths of, like, figuring it out because my husband also wants another kid right now, and I'm like, if we have another kid, like, my I have this, like, innate fear that it's gonna derail my career and then our whole life is gonna fall apart, right?
Yeah.
Even though, like, that's probably wouldn't happen, um, I'm working through it in therapy and just, like, kind of trying to, like, be okay with how it is and knowing that we've got to this point and again, like when I don't think you ever land at success because you're always chasing it. And so knowing that if we figured it out to this point, like we'll figure it out as it keeps going. But I don't think you ever necessarily arrive at success.
You've been really open about, like, therapy or, like, mental illness or different things like that. What does that feel like being vulnerable about that, especially, like, online or publicly?
Yeah, I've been through some crazy stuff, I think. And maybe I'm just like a chronic oversharer. But Um, which is, like, also a trauma response, so I know that, but I think it's just if I can talk about my experiences and it helps one other person out there know that, like, it's gonna be okay, then that's a win for me, and I think certain things aren't talked about very often, you know, and especially with, like, postpartum and depression, and my husband's a cop, and Lord knows that they need therapy more than anyone, but they refuse to go get it. So, um, being surrounded by that community too has made me very aware of mental health and staying on top of it because I've seen what happens when you don't.
So, when it comes to that, like all you've been through, all the growth, you have been posting spicier content. And I think that you've always been pretty open. Like you said, you're a chronic oversharer, but I think that you've given yourself the freedom to show that more in your content and it's less like polished than when you started. What made you comfortable with letting people see more of your actual personality?
I think I turned 30 and then I was like, I really don't give a anymore. Like the people that are going to accept me for who I am are going to do it and the people that aren't and it doesn't affect me. So leaning into it has been kind of liberating to some degree because it's like I'm not trying to be what everyone else says I should be. Um, and I have people all the time that are like, "How do you like pu- push post?" And I'm like, "I just do it. Like I don't care." And they're like, "I'm so scared to do it." And I'm like, "You can either do it or you can't. But if you can't take the heat, then I don't think it's a good idea, right? But if you can and you can accept the fact that like you might get heat from people, then like post the post. Like what's the worst that can happen? Someone's going to say something mean in the comment section and then I just get sassy back with them. Like it's just a screen. Like no one's going to physically punch you through Instagram comments. And yeah, it's just I I just don't care. I think it just I really do think it was turning 30 and realizing like, in your 20s you're trying to like find out who you are and like kind of go with what everyone else is doing um and then when in your 30s you're just like why was I wasting all of that time trying to like be who I'm not, you know?
Right. Yeah. Was there a specific post or moment where you kind of felt the shift that you were like, okay, this is actually who I am online right now. This is how I'm going to show up. I'm going to be spicy. I'm going to be controversial. What was that like?
I think it's been a slow grow. I think the first one I ever did, which I think even you told me like I should maybe talk about my broker to see if that was okay to post, but I didn't. So
I gave you a compliance disclaimer.
yeah. I posted about how I could never move to Utah County because I'm not Mormon, so I won't fit in. And then it was literally just a clip of me and my husband and my son going to church at like a Christian church, right? And that one blew like big time. And and then it just kind of clicked in my head. It was like, okay, we're a growing area and people have concerns about moving here, right? But like their spouse gets a job or has an opportunity that like they can't turn down and they're worried about not fitting in. And as someone who's also felt that way living here and like again trying to fit in with like the grain of the people and then deciding, no, I'm just going to be who I am. And then finally finding my people. I was like, I feel like I could lean into this more and connect with people that like feel like they can't find a home or a community here. So I think that was like the first one that made me realize like I could lean into this a little bit. And then the spicier content just kind of followed because I thought it was funny. And like it was just playful and I'm an opinionated person. Like I'm not afraid to state my opinion and I really don't care if people agree with me or not. Um I don't get offended easily, and so it's like you can disagree with me. That's fine. Like you have the right to do that, but I still have my opinion and I'm okay saying it. So I think it just kind of naturally developed from that post and realizing that's a real concern for people. And then I'm like, okay, well, if that's happening, that means that I can probably be opinionated and it's okay. And it worked. So I kept flowing with it.
What's one thing that you would tell someone who feels like they have a really bold personality, maybe a different personality, or they struggle with mental illness, or they're an oversharer, or maybe they're even like neurodivergent? Like, what would you say to that person when it comes to showing up online as like an industry professional, like as a real estate agent?
Be yourself. Like, I think, and this is something I've said since I was like in junior high. Like, I'm very like, I pride myself on being an authentic person. And if you're authentic, you can tell. And I think even more so now, people are craving that, right? Especially with like all the AI and everything, that it's like everyone's copy and pasting each other, but no one can be you. And I think if you're authentic, like that comes through and people can tell. And if you do it and it doesn't work, which it will, like I I will stand on being authentic, and being who you are will work, because the people that will vibe with you will find you. But if it doesn't, what's the worst thing that happens? You pivot and you try something different, right? But I, as someone who's done it both ways and tried to like fake it and didn't make it, and then was authentic, and it was like, oh, hi, here's followers, engagement, clients. I know that authenticity is huge.
Yeah. Love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been so fun just getting to know you, watching you grow, and having you a part of our community at Coffee and Contracts.
Well, thank you. It, I love being a part of it, and it's it's changed my business. So I appreciate everything that you guys do.
And if you're chasing a number thinking it'll fix everything, I hope this gave you a more realistic picture of what's waiting on the other side and more permission to show up as yourself, try new things, and see what happens. Head to the show notes. You'll find exclusive offers, freebies, and more, plus everything you need to get in touch with Sam and follow along with her content. And while you're there, hit subscribe and leave us a review. That's honestly our biggest growth lever right now, and we are so grateful for every single one of you who takes the 2 minutes to do it. Until next time, stay above asking.